Mr. Hicks, tell me about the year you arrived in Montford Point.
I arrived in Montford Point in May of 1948. And when I first arrived there, we were still in civilian clothes. And we got there in the evening. And they marched all of us to the mess hall, and because we were all in civilian clothes. When we got in front of the mess hall, I noticed all these Marines were marching. They were marking time, and the drill instructor kept hollering, "I want to see this building fall down. I want you to dig your heels in it." And the building actually started to shake. So after we got inside, they were having pork chops for dinner. And all of us were standing, we were hungry, you know. So this one drill instructor looked up at me and he says, "Boot, are you hungry?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Sit down, sit down." So they were passing the pork chops all along, and I said, "Boy, they sure did smell good." So he said, "Reach over there and get you a couple slices of bread." I did. I thought, boy, a pork chop sandwich would go good right now. He said, "Reach over there and get you that ketchup bottle." I got it. He said, "Put on the bread. Put the other place." He said, "Eat that. That's your dinner for the night." That was my first meal in the Marine Corps. And I said, "What did I get myself into?" And I didn't realize then, but that was one of the most famous drill instructors of Montford Point. His name was Booker Blood Burns, they called him. Martin Luther Burns. And I got a lot of them. Boy, that really made me a Marine right there.
Wow. How long did you serve?
I served 24 years, 2 months, and 13 days.
Wow. And so during that time, you were in different areas. You were in Vietnam and during the Vietnam War as well.
Yes, I was in Vietnam in 1967 and 68.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I got to Chu Lai, and that was the home of the 1st Marine Aircraft Wing. At that time, my military occupational specialty was aircraft firefighting and rescue. Also had been in the infantry and motor transport. So when I got down to Chu Lai, the officer I was supposed to relieve, his time wasn't up until March. So this colonel asked me, "Would you mind spending some time in security until he gets relieved?" I said, "Fine." So I went over there, and we used to go out and on sweeps and everything, and dog sweeps and everything, in Lake Concertina Y and all that. But I had a real experience there. I was the only Afro-American officer on the whole base. And when I got there, I did not know it, but the lieutenant was there, the first lieutenant that was in command. He didn't tell me this, but the first sergeant there had told him when they found out I was coming, he would never work for a black officer. So, but when he took and introduced me to me, of course, he didn't tell me that. And we shook hands, he said, "Glad to meet you," and all that. So we went through the times there, and he and I went out on a lot of sweeps together, perimeter sweeps, and we did very well. So when I got ready to leave, the other guy got relieved, so I left that outfit and went down to the airfield. So about 6 months later, when it was that Gunny's time to go home, I got a call. He said, but I was, "Lieutenant Hicks, Gunny wants to see you up in his hooch." I went up there, and the guy that said he didn't want to work for me was sitting down on his rack with a .45 pistol beside him, and he was sitting there crying with his shirt off. I said, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "Lieutenant Hicks, I want to tell you." He said, "I'm so ashamed of myself." I said, "Well, what's wrong with you?" He said, "You didn't know, but I told Lieutenant May when I heard you were coming, I'd never worked for a black man, but I want to tell you, you're one of the best guys I ever worked for." He said, "We had a lot of fun." He said, "I'm so ashamed of myself." He said, "If you want to take that pistol and shoot me, I won't say a word." I said, "If I do that, I'll be just as bad as you are." So anyway, that was a little escapade I had there. And then as far as the combat situation goes, we got hit several times with rockets at night and things like that. And I had one who had experience during Tet of 1968. When we got hit by rockets, and the rocket came so close to me that if it didn't have a quick fuse on it, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. If it had a delayed fuse on it, it would have went under me and blew me all up. But that's the way it was. Then I went down to the flight line. The aircraft was on fire, and I was the leader, so I had to get the men to go down there. And I was heading towards the flight line, and in my Jeep, when I looked, and it looked like 5 atom bombs went off on me. Great big explosions, 5 of them. So I got on the radio. I said, "Tower, what was that?" They said, "A rocket hit the bomb dump," and the whole bomb dump went up, and it looked like atom bomb. It was frightening. So I said, okay. So I kept driving. I turned down, and my Jeep didn't have any curtains on it. So when the blast when the wind came through, he just took my undershirt and went like that. So then I crawled under the Jeep when I stopped it, because what goes up must come down, and all that metal came down. So I missed it. Then we got up and we went ahead and fought the aircraft fires and got them all out, and the rockets were coming. But it was just it's just one of those things you wonder, why wasn't it my time? You just don't know, and you all you can say is it wasn't your time to go. That's it. That's it. So that was my experience there.
Wow, wow, amazing. So what does it mean to you to have to finally receive your Congressional Gold Medal?
Well, it means a lot to me, but one thing I always regretted when I found out that we were going to receive it. I owe so much to those that came before me, my drill instructors. When I got in combat twice, I was in combat twice. I was also in Korea in 1950. And that's when I was in the infantry then, in motor transport. Anyway, but a lot of the things that I did in combat to save myself and other people was a result of what they taught me in boot camp. I never forgot it. And a lot of times I would remember it and say, that's what Corporal so-and-so taught me, or Sergeant so-and-so taught me, and just think, that saved my life. So I always regretted the fact that they weren't not around to be here to receive the medal, because there were some great men. Some of my drill instructors showed me the scars on their hands where they were in the Second World War, and they were made to grab concertina wire and boxes without gloves on, because they weren't considered to be Marines. They were just men that were just used as dogs, and they just bought the stuff aboard. And I had so many until they showed me that, and I said, that's hard to fathom, that you could think about that men being that way when they're bringing you ammunition to keep you alive, and you're talking about them like that. Mm-hmm. But to those, that was one of the things that the medal meant to me. Mm-hmm. But as far as my personal stuff, it means to me that my children and grandchildren will have a legacy to go on and say, well, my grandfather or my father was there, and they finally got recognized and got the gold medal.
Absolutely. What do you think, Mr. Hicks, the Montford Point Marines should be remembered for?
I think they should be remembered for the many things that they have done in combat during World War II that really paved the way for the Marines we have today, that are reaching a lot higher rank than what we ever thought. And I noticed too that since we've been presented with a gold medal, all the Montford Point Marines are in such great demand. Everybody knows about us now, and they want to participate. I've had more interviews and been involved in more parades than I ever dreamed of. Not only me, all my comrades and a lot of people in all throughout the United States have been the same way. And it's just because of that medal. Because before that, we were obscure. We were there, but they didn't. But once we got the medal, everybody knew about it. It takes something, and I must say, the one man that I really congratulate for doing it, General James Amos. If it hadn't been for General Amos, they still wouldn't know anything about us. And believe me, I believed in my heart. I don't know about this, but I really believe that he took a lot of heat from somewhere because he did this, but he didn't care. Well, I met him when he came out to Camp Pendleton to see the Wounded Warriors. We taught him, and he told myself and Master Montgomery Sergeant Reed, he said, believe me, before this is all over, every Marine from the lowest PFC to the highest general will know about the history of Montford Point. He said it, he meant it, and he did it. And I'm so proud of him for that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.